How's everybody? Are you excited? My God, Victor Garber, right? Thank you, Melissa, and good afternoon. My guest began his career as a popular folk singer in his native Canada. He has gone on to become one of the most sought-after actors, working effortlessly on stage, screen, and television. He starred in the legendary Toronto production of the musical Godspell, opposite the likes of, yes, Andrea Martin, Gilda Radner, Martin Short, and Eugene Levy, before reprising his role of Jesus in the coveted film version. On the New York stage, he has given us many memorable performances in such shows as, listen to this list, Deathtrap, Lend Me a Tenor, Art, Arcadia, Damn Yankees, Little Me, Present Laughter, They're Playing Our Song, The Shadow Box, and 3 Stephen Sondheim musicals, Sweeney Todd, Assassins, and Follies. On the big screen, he has appeared in the Oscar-winning films Argo and James Cameron's iconic film Titanic, along with The First Wives Club, Legally Blonde, Sleepless in Seattle. You can clap all you want. I love these films, right? Milk, Selfless, and Sicario. On television, he is known to millions of fans as Jack Bristow on Alias. Alias fans? Opposite Jennifer Garner, and most recently as Dr. Martin Stein on both The Flash and Legends of Tomorrow. Oh, yeah. Other television work include his Emmy-nominated turns on Frasier, Will and Grace, and as Sid Luft in Life with Judy Garland, Me and My Shadow. Other TV highlights include Eli Stone, Liberty the American Revolution, External Affairs, Web Therapy, Power, Deception, Damages, Glee, and 3 TV musicals, Annie, Rodgers and Hammerstein, Cinderella, and The Music Man. Some body of work, right? And there's much more than that. He works passionately with Beyond Type 1, a charity focusing on raising awareness about type 1 diabetes. And now he is back on Broadway, wowing audiences 8 times a week as Horace Van de Gelder opposite Bernadette Peters in the hit revival of Hello Dolly. Please welcome Victor Garber.
Thank you. Hello. Well, I'd like to take that and read it myself.
See?
It's so encouraging, really.
Totally. Actors are always worried. I've had many stars sit here and they'd be like, when I finish a job, I always think I'm never getting one again. Do you still have that?
No.
Did you ever have that?
I don't. No, I don't. It's sort of, I know what you mean, because most of my friends say that, and I always think, something will happen. Yeah. Something will turn up. I mean, I may not be. I'm just hoping it's a job I want to do. You know, because there's often it's like, well, I can't do that.
Well, first off, welcome back to Broadway. How does it feel? Yes.
Oh,
Hello, Dolly.
It feels. This honestly came out of the blue. I was doing my last little bit on Legends of Tomorrow in Vancouver, and I was leaving the show, and I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew I was homesick for New York because I was in Vancouver for a long time, and I just wanted to come home, and I just wanted to be back. And I thought, I hadn't done a play since Present Laughter, which was, I think, 8 years ago or 9 years ago. I have no concept of time, but it was a long time ago, and I thought, I probably would love to go back to the theater, but would I still be able to do it? I did question. Will I be able to remember the lines? Will I be too scared? Because the longer you stay away from something, you know, it's daunting. And the idea of like getting in front of an audience and doing something was scary to me. And so I didn't know what I was going to do. And then I read a couple of plays where people were interested, and I thought, oh, that maybe that would. And I really didn't know, and then suddenly this call came. And I thought, oh, well, this is the universe giving me this gift. Yeah. It really feels like that, and it still does. Because I have to say, the first week of previews, the first time I went over the lyrics for the first song almost to the point of when I walked on stage. I was so scared that I would forget the lyric right in the middle of the song, you know? And fortunately, I haven't yet, but I'm still, you know, like, okay, I go over the lyrics to both songs every night.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just, you know. But I also knew that when I got on in the first day of rehearsal, and it was just me and Bernadette, really, and Jerry Zaks, the director, and a couple of the assistants and choreographer. And I thought, oh, I remember this feeling. This is what I do. And I'd forgotten that. And because you know, when I left to go do all these television things, I'd been doing so many plays that I was also tired of that. So it's like anything, you know, you have to take breaks, and I'm very glad I'm back.
So when you knew you were going back into Hello Dolly, did you have a fear of singing again?
Yes. I always have a fear of singing. I have a fear of singing tonight. As you can hear, I've been dealing with these allergies. We were talking about this
Which one's
earlier.
upstairs?
I don't know what's going on, and it's too boring, and we're not even going to discuss it. However, it's a phlegm thing, and it's just driving me nuts.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful if I can. I'm just grateful when I can get through it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. How much fun is it playing Horace Vandergelder?
It's a lot of fun. I didn't really know. I mean, I hadn't seen the show. Once I knew I was doing it, I came. David is a good friend of mine, but I was in Vancouver, and I of course, you know, you couldn't get a ticket when it opened with Bette and David, and but when I got back about 6 weeks before rehearsals, I got to see it, and I was just blown away by the production, by them. They were spectacular, and I just couldn't believe I was going to have this opportunity. And also, it's not a killer role. Like there are breaks. Bernadette has she's never stops, but Horace, I can sit down for 10 minutes and you know, I don't smoke, but that's the cliche. Yeah. So I was grateful that it wasn't going to be, you know, that I didn't have to carry it.
Yeah.
What is wrong with my voice?
It's everybody's, and we were talking upstairs. Yeah.
Well, hopefully by 8 o'clock I'll be back. So no, and it's Bernadette and I knew each other, you know, had known each other for years, and had never really worked together except in Cinderella. We had we crossed in the palace scene. We crossed paths, but we didn't have anything to do together. But now we do. Now we are joined at the hip, and it's you know, it's a joy to be with her.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you, what is it like working with her? One of the greatest stars we have, so nice, one of the loveliest people you'll ever meet besides her talent.
Yeah, she's everything you hope and more. She's amazing. She's inspiring because she is always working, making something better, trying to, you know, coming up with something new, and and we're very much on the same page about how we want to do the show and our belief in what this is about and the relationship, and so it's been a joy. And Jerry Zaks, who I've worked with many times, this is one of the best things I've done with him, I think. I feel like he sort of guided me in a very generous way, never imposed anything from the show that was there. I mean, obviously, you know, it's Hello Dolly, so it's there are requirements, but in terms of the interpretation, it was very much our own journey.
Because I love that, because I was going to ask you, what's it like stepping into an already existing production or train that's running down the track, and it's the two stars that go in?
Well, I think it's easier, I mean, in the way we, and also the Scott Rudin, the producer, they were so generous with the time, and they really went all out to make us feel comfortable. And that made a huge difference, you know. So I remember the first put in, one of the stage guys said, "Well, I've never seen a put in like this." You know, it's like everybody. They closed down the show for 5 days, and we had full tech rehearsals in the theater, which is unheard of, really.
Never happens.
Never happens, and the entire cast was there. So really, they were. It was sort of like, it was like a normal production with technical rehearsals. It was amazing.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Jerry Zaks, you were talking about him, one of the greatest directors of all time.
Yeah.
What makes him such a great director and sought-after director to work with?
He's really smart.
Yeah.
He's really funny. He knows, and he knows what he wants. You know, sometimes it's not always the same thing, you know, for an actor. But for me, I have loved everything I've done with him, which the first thing was Wenceslas Square at the Public Theater, which was a Larry Shue play that was sort of about the Prague Spring, and it was it's a beautiful play, and I played like 5 different people, I think, and that was, we just had this great time, and then Lend Me a Tenor, and then Assassins. So he's been, you know, we just fit very well. He just has a great eye, you know. I mean, this production, when you see it, it is so beautifully done. It's everything you want it to be and more, you know.
Yeah, just a brilliant director. I'd like to go back to the beginning. Growing up, where did your love for performing begin, and what were your earliest creative outlets?
You know, it was so long ago, but I do remember. I actually do remember. My mom used to. We had a theater in London, Ontario, where I was born, and it was an amateur theater that had sort of professional standards. And these people came from England, a husband and wife, and they sort of took over the theater when I was very young. And my mother had a television show in those days. She was a sort of a, who would she be? Like, she At Home with Hope Garber. That was the name of the show. And she interviewed, you know, people from the local celebrities and people who were, you know, new in town. And so she interviewed this man, Peter Deering, and he was starting this new program at the London Little Theatre for children's theater program. So, you know, I knew from a very early age that that's what I wanted to do. I just knew, because my mom was a singer, and I was a singer, and I was just attracted to that. And she used to play Broadway show albums all the time. That's what I grew up listening to, and I loved those musicals. And so I got involved in the children's theater program at the Grand Theater, and it just never stopped. That's where it all happened.
Your defining moment was then, very young, like, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
What impact did your acting teacher, Robert Gill, at the University of Toronto have on you?
Wow, Robert Gill.
Yeah.
It's not a name you hear every day. It was a summer theater course at the Hart House, University of Toronto. I was a high school dropout. I'm not proud of it, but it's what happened. When I was 15, I wrote, I saw this summer theater 6-week program on a pamphlet or somewhere. I don't know where I saw it, but I filled out the form and I lied about my age, because you had to be, I think, at least 18 or at least 16. I don't know. Anyway, I was too young. And I got accepted. Just like, then I told my parents that they had to finance me. And it wasn't, I mean, I think I paid for it. It was not a lot of money, but this man ran this summer theater course for teachers, actually for people professors, and I was the youngest person ever to be accepted at this summer theater course, and it changed my life. I mean, I went to Toronto, I stayed in a dormitory, my father drove me, they were very worried about me, but I was so headstrong, so determined, and I think, I was a kid. I look at people my age now and I think, I can't believe I did that. But it at the time, there was no question, you know, foolish or not, it was what I was going to do. And so that man really started me, you know, on a professional track, really.
Yeah. That's great. You have this wonderful stage, film, and television career. So let's just chat about some of the highlights and just tell me what comes to mind, a story or a great memory.
Oh. I have trouble with favorites. Oh, you have. Okay,
yeah, don't worry, you're in good hands.
Tell me, good, because I.
Godspell fans. Playing Jesus first on stage in the legendary Toronto production.
Yes.
And then playing him in the film. Favorite memories. And that cast.
Yes, I have favorite memories of that, or certainly some memories. I remember, excuse me, I'm so sorry about this. I have to apologize to Broadway tonight. The callback, final callbacks for the Godspell in Toronto. I'd been on a tour with a singing group, and I had been playing, just coincidentally, I'd been playing the role of Jesus in this this oddly, we were singing songs from Godspell, Jesus Christ Superstar, and original songs, and it was sort of this whole Jesus story. It was all that during that time, and we were, by the way, illegally doing this. We found out later. But I knew the song "Save the People," which was from Godspell, and I played it on my guitar in the show. So my callback, I obviously knew what I was going to do, you know. So I came out, and I had, you know, this hair.
Yeah, you did.
And I sang this song, and people went insane. And my favorite story is that, and Eugene Levy, who was also, he said, and after this rather rousing response I got, they said, next, Eugene Levy. And he still talks about that as having to follow that. And he does an imitation of that, of his face, when he realized he was, and he, you know, he got up and, of course, he got the role. But it just makes me laugh to this day. But and what I remember, one of the things I remember vividly, is this this young woman. She wasn't that young, skipping across the stage, singing "Zippity Doo Dah" with pigtails, and it was Gilda Radner. And everybody was like, first of all, what is she doing? Yeah. And then everyone just melted. She was as adorable and as funny as anyone I've ever known. And I think the thing that I could say mostly about her is that she was never funnier than sitting at a table at dinner. Never funnier. She was an angel.
Paul Schaefer was your musical director on that, right?
Paul Schaefer was at the audition for the callbacks, playing for somebody for the audition. He was like, you know, they brought their own accompanist, and they had the guy who was there for the everybody else. And so this girl got up to sing, and Paul sat down and started playing the piano, and Stephen Schwartz was sitting there and literally said to somebody, "Who's that?" and went over and hired him to be the musical director. From that moment. He was so obviously like nobody else.
Yeah.
You know?
And doing the film, because didn't you shoot like on the World Trade Center when it was going up or something?
We danced on top of the World Trade Center just before it was completed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was something. It's hard to believe. It's hard to believe that we did that.
Yeah.
But it was, we shot all over New York. I mean, the part of the great thing about that movie is it's like a New York, it's a travelogue, you know, and it's beautiful. And because the premise of the story is that when Jesus comes into the picture, New York, the people disappear, and it's just these band of followers. So we're all, everywhere we go, it's empty. And we shot on Saturdays and Sundays, and so it was really hard to do that. But it was very special.
Yeah. The first original role you created on Broadway, was that Clifford in Ira Levin's Deathtrap? Original role?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yes, I think it was.
It was you, John Wood, the late Marion Seldes. I mean, great show. When Broadway did mysteries back then.
Yeah.
Thrillers and all.
Yes, well, it was one of the few that worked. You know, there was Wait Until Dark.
Yeah.
And Deathtrap. They're sort of the prototypes for stage mystery thrillers. It was a thriller. And actually, it's Ira Levin wrote Deathtrap, and it says a thriller in 2 acts. That's how it's printed. I was doing Tartuffe at the Circle in the Square with John Wood and they're all gone now. It's hard to, wow. Tammy Grimes, Pat Elliott, Swoosie Kurtz, who fortunately is still with us, Mildred Dunnick. There were all these amazing people. And John Wood, who was a daunting and brilliant man, actor from England, a big star at the RSC, was playing Tartuffe, and we had, you know, I had nothing to do with him in Tartuffe other than, you know, and one night he came up to me and said, I'd like you to read something and tell me what you think. And I said, oh, okay, sure. And he said, I'd like your opinion because I've been asked to do this role, and I just want to get your opinions if you think I should do this role. I mean, we didn't really have that close a relationship, but it was, you know, it was a kind of camaraderie, and I was flattered, and of course so I went home and read the play, and it was dazzling, you know. I mean, it It was really well written and funny and perfect part for John. And it must have crossed my mind as I was reading the part of Clifford. I thought, gee, I could play this part. Gee, I could do this. But honestly, I really didn't really think about it. I just came in the next day and said, John, you have to do this part. This is a great role for you to do in New York. Because he'd only done Tom Stoppard, Tom Stoppard, Sherlock Holmes, and he had been, he'd won Tonys, and he's revered. And he said, really? And I said, yeah, I really think it's a great part. He said, well, would you be interested in playing Clifford? And I said, yeah, let me check. Yeah, I think so. And and then the director was Robert Moore.
Yeah.
The great late Robert Moore, who's also a brilliant actor. And John said, they want to audition you, and I'd like to read with you for the audition. Wow. So I have, that John Wood changed my life, because he wanted me to do the role, and fortunately, everyone went along with it.
I never knew that story. What a great story.
Yeah, it's incredible.
You've appeared in 3 Stephen Sondheim musicals in New York, creating the role of Anthony in the original production of Sweeney Todd, John Wilkes Booth in Assassins, and then Ben Stone in Follies at City Center. What is it like living in the songs of Stephen Sondheim?
Like nothing else imaginable. I mean, it's the reason I'm in New York, the reason I'm sitting here, is because of Stephen Sondheim. I heard Anyone Can Whistle when I was very young in Toronto. I was an actor. I was a musician mostly, singer, and like in the singing group and stuff. And I was obsessed with Anyone Can Whistle, and it was like a siren call. I've said this many times, but it's really true that show. That's what brought me to New York, and that was my goal, was to work with Stephen Sondheim. And I can't believe I'm here to say it happened.
The first time you heard the song Joanna, which you introduced, I mean, do you remember when he played that for you?
God, I don't have to sing it right now. Yes, I do remember, because I was on I was on a bus on 2nd Avenue going to his house with my cassette tape recorder because he wanted me, it was the callback for the Sweeney Todd, and he wanted me to learn the song that I would be singing. So you can imagine what that, I mean, on that bus ride with my cassette tape. You don't even know, a lot of you don't even know what that is, a cassette tape recorder. But I got to his house and knocked on the door and was introduced to the guy who worked for him let me in and said, Steve is upstairs waiting. And so I went upstairs to his office den with the grand piano, and he couldn't have been more charming, and just said how much he, was so happy he was that I was there. And I thought, am I dreaming this? Is this possibly happening to me, that this is happening right now?
Yeah.
And as I say it, I can't believe it happened, but it did. And so I put the cassette down, the tape recorder, and on his piano, and pushed play, and he hit those first chords and sang Joanna. And I learned it, because I don't read music, and so I learned it from his recording.
Wow.
Yeah.
You were hilarious in the hit film The First Wives Club, where you play Goldie Hawn's divorced husband, Bill. Hilarious. How much fun was that film to make?
That was actually, it was fun. Because Goldie is, I sort of knew her through mutual friends, and I did know her, and so I wasn't scared, although I was, of course, scared because it was a big movie and I hadn't done very few movies. And, but she was just an angel. And she was so supportive and helpful and willing to, give me my little moments. And so it was really fun.
You played shipbuilder Thomas Andrews in James Cameron's Titanic.
Yes, I did.
Which has gone on to become one of the most successful films of all time. At what point during the process did you realize that would be a big film?
It wasn't until I saw the screening of the first time. I had no idea. No, none of us did. I think James did. James Cameron had this phenomenal belief and confidence in the project that, well, of course he had to, but we were all just like, it was a really difficult shoot, and a lot of mostly night shooting, which is like my idea of hell, and you know, you go to bed at 7 in the morning and then get up at 5 to go to work. It's not how I operate. And so it was difficult, but the camaraderie of the actors and the situation helped everyone get through it. It was very, it was a long time. I was down in Rosarito, Mexico, 5.5 months, I think. And, but I do have to say, I loved working with him. He's everything everyone says, and he's also a really good director. He completely guided me every step. I mean, I think that role, he identified with that role so much that I think he wanted to play that role in a way. And he guided me in those very specific scenes about talking about the way the ship worked and everything. He just guided me every step, and I'm very grateful for him too for that.
How much fun did you have playing Professor Callahan in the hit film Legally Blonde?
Oh, that was fun. Well, movies, it's hard work. People, it's rarely do you say, "Oh, that was a fun day." Yeah. It's like, that was exhausting, and I hope it worked. But it was a great part for me. And Reese, again, it depends on who you're in the room with, but she's amazing. She was so young at that time, and so on top of it. She just had a comedic gift, has a comedic gift that was apparent, and she was lovely, charming, and so the whole thing. I mean, it's become sort of this cult movie too. Yeah. It's crazy.
You co-starred opposite Sean Penn in Milk for director Gus Van Sant. Yep. Yeah. Playing San Francisco Mayor, is it George Moscone? Moscone, the Italian. Mm-hmm. How important was being in that film for you?
Very important. It was a story that had to be told, and Bruce Cohn and Dan Jinks produced it, and they're remarkable. Both they work mostly separately now, but they both are still working a lot and doing very important work. And when I say important, I mean it's a story that hadn't been really. I mean, I thought Sean Penn brought him to life in a way that was remarkable, and everybody. I loved that experience, loved it, and I'm very proud to be a part of that.
Yeah. On film, you played Ken Taylor, Canadian ambassador to
I'm
Iran.
Exhausted.
I know. In director Ben Affleck's Argo. What was Ben like as a director?
Ben was great as a director. I only really worked roughly, I think, a week or 2 weeks in LA, and then a week in Istanbul, where we shot the scenes. But I just, first of all, he wrote it, starred in it, and directed it. And I had done a smaller, just a cameo thing in The Town with him, which I thought was an exceptionally good movie. And then Argo turned out to be, obviously, what it turned out to be. So, but the day-to-day experience was great. He was right on point, and just had such a vision for that film. Yeah. And he's one of the smartest people I know. Yeah. So I actually loved that experience.
You are known to millions of fans around the world for your work on such iconic television shows, including Alias. Alias fans here? As Jack Bristow for half a decade opposite Jennifer Garner. How did Alias change your life and career?
Oh boy. J.J. Abrams, who I'm sure you all have heard of and know, he saw something in me that I'm still to this day amazed that he saw, but it worked. And I would never have thought that I'd be cast in that role. I was living in New York. I met him over Skype. In those days it wasn't quite as efficient as it is now at a round table at ABC. And I think I read for the role there that day. And the next thing I knew, I was being flown out to test for the role, and that I got the role. And I've mostly done theater and some TV, but this was like the first time I was really living in California for the first time and starring in a series. And so that alone was a life changer. Then what Alias became in terms of the fan response and also it changed television in a lot of ways. It was one of the first ones of its first type of thing of that kind. And so it changed everything for me. I mean, I was suddenly, and I got an Emmy nomination, which was shocking, and so I was suddenly in the world of television in Hollywood. And so I took advantage of it and loved being there, and working with Jennifer, was we're very close and remain very close. And Ron Rifkin, who was another, a fish out of water. The two of us were like, "What are we doing in the show?" But we still laugh about it, and we love gathering together. It's great.
Speaking of Emmy Awards, you were nominated for your performance of Sid Luft in Life with Judy Garland, Me and My Shadows. Me and My Shadow, if you haven't seen this, Judy Davis, Tammy Blanchard, what a beautiful television movie. What a great movie.
It was great. Bob Ackerman directed it, and Neil Marin and Craig Zayden, who produced all these great things in the last several years. It was one of their first things, and Judy Davis. I mean, I got to work with Judy Davis. That's like, wow, I can't even believe I did that. But it was. I know I'm sound like I loved everything I did, and I didn't. There are aspects of all these things that were horrifying, but the reality is, I can look back at it now and say, even the difficulties were opportunities for my growth and my development, and so I'm grateful for all of it. But that project was really hard and really gratifying.
It was shot very fast, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Unlike Titanic, it was shot very fast.
Yeah. And she's brilliant to work with, Judy Davis, right?
And so much fun. Like she's really hilarious and fun to be with. And loved it.
You have this new generation of fans because of your work on The Flash and, of course, Legends of Tomorrow as Dr. Martin Stein. Was this a type of role on your radar, and how did it come about?
First of all, so not on my radar. I mean, I don't even know where my radar is, but it wasn't there. Yeah. This came out of the proverbial blue. Yeah. Greg Berlanti, who is Berlanti, he's like he's
everything.
Runs the world. Yeah. He does all of those shows on CW, and he's a wonderfully talented writer, director, and friend, and said, I'm doing this show, The Flash, and in Vancouver, and we'd love you to play Martin Stein for a few episodes on The Flash, and he told me the story, and I thought, well, that's a first. I thought, what's left for me to do? I've never done anything like this. So I agreed to do it, and Robbie Amell played my other half, who I'd worked with, who I loved, and so I went to Vancouver and did 3 episodes of The Flash, and then the next thing I know, they're doing a series, and they want to carry on that role in Legends of Tomorrow, and I thought that was a big decision because that was really moving to Vancouver for a long time, and I thought, well, first of all, at my age to get a money job like that is so rare, and I needed to do that to cover my extravagant tastes, and so I said yes, but really it was because partially for the financial reasons, but also because when would this ever happen? Yeah. When am I ever going to be in this world? So I did it, and I had a great time, and then after 2 seasons, I thought, okay, I think I have to go now. Yeah. So I was allowed to leave, and I'm very grateful that was part of the deal. And And then here I am. Yeah. Hello, Dolly. Hello, Dolly.
Because you did that 4-part show, wasn't it? It was The Arrow, The Flash, Supergirl, and Legends of Tomorrow.
They call it crossovers.
Crossovers.
That's one word for it. It's like a descent into the unknown. It's something. It's really difficult. And by the way, the best part about it was being with those other casts.
Yeah.
Suddenly everybody. I mean, Jesse Martin and Grant Gustin and all those people that I worked with, and Melissa, they're just great people. And so that was fun. That was a lot of it was fun.
You mentioned Tom Stoppard, Arcadia, directed by Trevor Nunn.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah.
What was I doing in that? Can't believe I did that.
How challenging is Tom Stoppard to do?
The most. I mean, there's Shakespeare and there's Stoppard, and Stoppard is more difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, and the rewards of doing it are just unparalleled, because when you really finally get it into your body and what you're doing and what you're saying, which took me a long time because I'm not as smart as most people I know. It just took me a long time, but I worship him.
Yeah. All the actors who I've spoken to have done. Some people say Stoppard, some say Stoppard.
I've always known it as Tom Stoppard.
Tom Stoppard.
That's how I've known it, but yeah.
But
and I've had dinner with him, so I'm right.
All these actors feel so much smarter once they've done one of his shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But here's the great thing about Tom Stoppard, I was so intimidated, and then you meet him.
Yeah.
It's like he's the most adorable, easy person, funny. Yeah. You don't feel. I remember I was in England with Deborah Monk, my darling friend, who's a great actress, and she's one of my close friends, and we were there doing, I don't know what we were doing, but we were there, and I had the nerve to call Tom, because in those days we were more in communication than we are now, but he said, "Oh, come over for tea or something," and I said, "Oh, I'm with my friend. Oh, bring her. I'd love to meet her." And I said, "Deborah, we're going to talk." "I can't go. What am I going to say?" And of course, dragged her, and she was smitten, like everyone.
Everybody's afraid to meet him until they meet him.
Oh God, he's the dream.
You did Art, one of my favorite plays, with Alan Alda and Alfred Molina. The three of you. I mean, what was that experience like? You and I spoke during this, but working with those men together.
That is one of the great ones of my life for me, and it was from the day we started to the day we finished, and to be in a new play, a great new play. I thought it was one of the best new plays. I think it won the Tony for best new play that year. Yeah. With two people that I knew Fred Molina, or Alfred Molina. Yeah. I knew him slightly through friends, but Alan I'd never met, and again, I was intimidated to meet Alan Alda, because it's like, Alan Alda. Yeah. And from the first day we all were together, it was like we were, the whole play was about being best friends, and Alan was like determined that we would spend time together, and I'm like, oh really? I mean, is that really? I'm like, we don't have to do that. We're actors. That's why they call it acting. Then cut to, when are we having dinner again? Well, I can't. Well, what about this weekend? Are we going to see each other? He was so, and I think that's why that production worked so well, because Alan, and that was Alan's. He initiated all of that, and we would go out to his house on Long Island and spend the Sunday nights and Mondays out there. And his wife Arlene is who's part of the Alda experience. She's a very important part of it. And I just actually did a video. He's being honored again for something at this project. What's it called? It's a really important improv group that works with policemen and what's it called? Irondale. Yes, you know about that. It's an amazing group, and he's being honored like any minute. And I'm not supposed to. He doesn't know I'm doing this, so I shouldn't talk about it.
It's all good.
I'm sure it'll happen before this. Anyway,
Totally, exactly.
Anyway, but he's one of those people that never stops. He never stops doing things for the world.
People, yeah.
Yeah.
But you could just tell, speaking to all three of you during that process, you knew that you were all very, very close. And that was such a unique experience.
It wasn't phony at all.
Yeah.
There was no artifice about it.
And I just love the concept of that play about that white canvas.
It's about friendship. It's about what happens when you have it's like, I'm sure it's what happens at political discussions now at dinner, when you are diametrically opposed and people break up.
Yeah.
And that's what happens in this play. And you really examine what's more important, and it's interesting what arises.
Great play.
Great play.
You were sensational as Gary Essendine in Noel Coward's Present Laughter. What were the challenges of that role? Because that's a tough role. Coward in that role, you're never off.
Yeah. Well, it's a tough role because, for many reasons, but also because I have such respect and love for Noel Coward and for this play. And it was the last play I did with my friend Nicholas Martin, who was the sort of my go-to director friend, who sort of basically told me what to do. He'd say, "You've got to do this play." He told me to do Macbeth. I said, "Okay." And he told me to do Present Laughter. I said, "Okay." And he basically, I never knew. I would wait to see what he said I should do next. And he's gone now, so I have no idea what I'm going to do next. But I loved that play so much, and I felt completely at home in that world. Probably a little too much at home in a dressing gown being waited on. But I loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Everything you do is different. How do you choose a project? Does
Nicky
it vary?
Martin. Nicky Martin.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for his voice from. I've never had an idea of what I was going to do next. I mean it. It's like this one came out of the blue, but I know when it comes. It's really about the material, and I've always wanted to be an actor who did different things, and I'm so grateful that I've been able to do that, and that I could sing, but that I wasn't just known as a Broadway singer. I could do all these different things, because that to me was always my goal, just to do different things. And so I just wait till so I pick up something that someone's interested in me doing, and I read it, and I think, oh, this is it. Because I know when I read it.
You're so natural on stage, and you're just as natural on film and television, but I know the mediums are all different. Do you change your performance? Does it have to change a lot between stage and film and TV?
No, I don't. It's hard to. That's an interesting question, because it's like, to me, it all has to come from the same place. So that if you don't have a sense of truth in any of those things, it's not going to work. So when the camera's right here, it's the same requirement, except it's just more intimate. It's just so that I would be talking like this instead of like this. But it's the same. It's the same muscles. The same. It's a technical difference.
Yeah.
But yes, I feel, for me, it's really about listening and responding. So in Dolly particularly, because Dolly is Vandergelder thinks he's a man in charge, and in fact, everything he does is manipulated by Dolly Levi. Everything, from the minute it starts, and that. So if I don't really hear what she's saying to me in that moment and respond in that moment, it's going to be fake, and that's the challenge of acting for me.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Because I've spoken to a lot of stars here, and we talked about starting out on the stage and then going to your first TV show or your first film, and they say the camera was very daunting to them because the directors would say less, do less.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm not doing anything. And they're like, but then you watch the playback and you're like, wow, I'm doing much more than I thought I was doing.
Yeah. Well, listen, of course, that first time, with anything, is scary. But for me, I loved going in front of the camera. I love the intimacy of it, and I love that it caught everything. So for me, all I had to do was think, and it's true of stage too. If you just think, and if you're connected to that, it will read as truthful, and that's always my goal. Sometimes I achieve it, sometimes I don't, but.
You always achieve it.
Oh, well.
You always achieve it.
You had to say that, Richard.
Well, no, I did. No, but you all know that, right? You have this new fan base because they know you as a DC comic superhero. And they'll be coming to the theater, yes, they'll be coming to the theater for the very first time because they know you from these projects. And you'll introduce them to this whole new world. I mean, I remember the first time I went, I saw a television star in a show, and I didn't know what live theater was, and it just changed everything for me.
Yeah.
What that means to you from these new fans that may know you from TV or film that are going to come to the theater for the first time.
It means everything to me. It means everything to me. I mean, that is, for me, that, first of all, you know, what it also means is that I go to these signings, you know, where I never imagined myself doing that. But again, the money. No, it's, well, everybody knows that. I mean, everybody goes, it's like, why would you go and spend, 12 hours?
Yeah.
Hi, how are you? Nice to meet you. Thanks for coming. Signing your name. But, but here's what happened to me the first time I went, which really shocked me, was that I was so humbled by these people that I really felt how much it meant to them. Yeah. And I thought, this is no joke. This is, they're spending way too much money to get my autograph and a picture and to meet me and to get a selfie or to get whatever it is. But I was so, I found it so moving. And also, because on the stage, obviously, the response is immediate and you know that people are either liking it or not. But when you do a TV show, you have that. But when you go to these conventions, there are people that line up to get your signature, and you have that one-on-one, and you realize, wow, this really affected this person and this family and this whatever this is. And, and that's very, for me, humbling and meaningful. So, as it is for when my nieces bring their children, my godnieces, and they're 5 and 8, and they come to see Hello Dolly, and they are just, I think, well, what could be better than that?
Because you and I talked about that upstairs.
Yeah.
The youngins, the young children that come to your theater and are mesmerized by this art form.
Yeah. I mean, what a gift.
Yeah.
And that's why there will always be theater, because when people are affected by that, they come back, and Hello Dolly is the perfect thing to bring a young kid to. Yeah. Because it's so on every level, there's so much going on.
We have to mention your charity work for type 1 diabetes.
Yes.
Great organization.
Oh, because I am a type 1 diabetic.
Yep.
I am a type 1 diabetic, and I live with this disease, and it's really challenging, and I'm very grateful that I'm still here and can talk about it. But for young people, if anybody who's watching who is dealing with it, either with a child or a relative or themselves, it's called Beyond Type 1. And we need money, we need support. And so anybody who can help out would be grateful. It's a great organization.
So they can just go on the web and find Beyond,
Beyond Type 1. And it will come up, and you can read about it, and you can also read about what's happening in research, and also it's all now become international. So all these kids who are having, can't get insulin. I mean, when I was a kid, there are kids dying because they're not being diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. It's a very, very serious disease. And insulin, I've had it since I was 12, and I've lived with it, and I'm now 69. I almost said 70, and I thought, no, not yet.
Not yet.
But I'm very fortunate that I've been able to get here.
It's a great organization.
Yeah.
Nick Jonas is a part of this too, right? Yeah.
He's a young'un with type 1, and he's remarkable, and he's a part of the board too.
Well, thank you for doing that for
thank
Beyond
you
One.
for bringing it up.
We have a few questions from the audience. I have a question from Mike. Was John Wilkes Booth a difficult character to embody? And what type of research did you do to become such an infamous man?
Oh, where's Mike? Oh, there you are. Hi. Right there. You could have asked it right from there. John Wilkes Booth was, yes, very challenging because, he's considered a villain, of course. And I had to find his humanity in some way. But fortunately, Stephen Sondheim wrote the lyrics. So, and John Weidman wrote the book. So he was like all people who do bad things, somewhere they believe they're doing the best thing. And that's a very tricky thing. But it's also what I love playing. I love that challenge. And to humanize him, and it's not for sympathy as much as just getting a broader understanding of who he was. But really, the research, I mean, I'm not a big research guy because everything is dependent on what's in the play. So a lot of research will just say, but he wouldn't have done that because so that's not going to help you. So I tend to, of course, I look at things and I pick up things, but it's really all in the writing. And then if I want something else, I can go look up where would he have been at that time and all of that. But for me, it's all in the material, and Stephen Sondheim gives it to you in spades.
Yeah. So you can unlock something in a Stephen Sondheim show right away, a character.
Well, you can start with just the lyrics.
Yeah.
I mean, I played Ben in Follies, and the road I didn't take, it just says it all. Yeah.
There's a question from Frank. Where's Frank? Hey, Frank. Okay. Were there any crazy mishaps during the original run of Lend Me a Tenor?
Oh my God. Oh my God. Yes. Yes. I mean, those of you who don't know the show, I play this young assistant who who's trying to keep this tenor sober, but of course he doesn't work, and so I have to impersonate this guy playing Othello in a performance, and thank you, Ken Ludwig, thank you, but really it's impossible. But we did it, and I just remember the first preview in Baltimore, and where the quick change is like, I'm going to say it had to be like 45 seconds or something, or I could be exaggerating, but I don't think I am. And it was like a massive, makeup, hair, just everything to become Othello in the full garb, and then sing, which I had to do. And I remember the first preview, I went at intermission, I went back to my dressing room, and started crying. Because I thought, I can't do this every day. How can I do it? It was so scary and exhausting. And then, like everything, you find it, and then it becomes like a routine. But there were many, Phil Bosco, who's my dear friend and one of the great, worked 3 plays with him, and he always won the Tony, and deservedly, he's just the greatest actor ever. He would just sometimes get confused and start mumbling things, and I never knew what was going to come out of his mouth, and it was hilarious. And sometimes we just kind of somehow got through it. But there were many things. I can't think any of specific moments, but it was overall just a lunacy ride. It was just
That's great.
Fun though, fun, and people. God knows it was a fun for audiences.
Great show. This has no name on it, but so this question is, what has been your favorite role so far and why? And what is the role that was the most challenging that you learned the most from?
Oh my God. Okay, like I say, I have trouble with favorite roles.
Yeah.
Because every role has had an impact. I mean, I can say that doing art, which I talked about earlier, playing that role, was just one of my favorite experiences, because so much of playing a role has to do with the experience of when you're doing it. So I've learned from everything I've ever done. I've learned from doing this today. I've learned. Every day to me is about learning something, and I mostly about my own response to things. And acting is a great indulgent way of really observing how I react to things. And so my goal in life is learning to be more accepting, allow things to be the way they are, and that's what you have to do as a character in a play and as an actor in this business. So I honestly, I'm still learning, and I will till I croak. So I learn everything I've learned. I mean, probably playing Macbeth was the most daunting role I've ever played. And I remember thinking, the one thing I learned from that was that I could do it. It may not have been good. I don't think it was terrible, but it wasn't that good. But learning that I could do it gave me a different, an air of confidence that I didn't have before that. And every role, hopefully, can help me on that path.
Beautiful.
Did I answer any of that? Who asked that question? First of all, get out. Seriously, who was it?
Fabulous.
Where are you? There you are. Okay.
That was a great.
Did I answer that at all? Yes. All right, good.
We have a lot of actors in this room at many different facets of their career. Some like to audition, some are good at auditioning, some aren't good at auditioning. Were you always good at auditioning? And what is the secret to a good audition?
No, I don't think I was. I'm not sure I'd be good now auditioning. Auditioning to me is all about preparation. You have to work much harder than you think because you have to remember that the nerves aspect can derail you at any moment. So there has to be a technical understanding. It has to be a mental understanding, and I think it's just preparation. I mean, I work really hard. I can't remember the last audition I did because it was a long time ago. Because I fortunately haven't had to. But sometimes I'll have to go on tape for things. That happens because it's in California or anything, and that is. I mean, but the good thing about that is you can go over and over and over and do it till you feel comfortable and that you've done it. But to walk into a room, there's nothing harder, but it's the more preparation you have, the more that gives you more confidence, and I believe that confidence is a large part of how people get roles. Just knowing and being comfortable. You have to be comfortable in your skin and in that role. So whatever that takes. You have to figure that out yourself.
Beautiful advice. From Jean Marie, what was your first professional job and what did that mean to you?
Oh God, can I remember that far back? My first professional job, I mean, listen, I used to be a folk singer and that, those were jobs, but I think my first acting job, professional, when I think about it, what was it? I think it was a PBS historical drama or something way back when Channel 13 used to really spend money and do these great historical dramas. I learned that it was much harder than I thought it would be, that it wasn't as much fun as I thought it would be, and that I better just really get serious about this and realize that it's you can't. It's as Betty Davis said, it's not for sissies. It's really you really have to love it and want to do it.
Beautiful. If you could sum up the best part of the experience of being back on Broadway and Hello Dolly, what is it for you?
I think it's the awareness that this is what I was meant to do. That was very apparent to me, as I said in the rehearsal, and then when I was finally, because I was really scared those first few previews. I was panicking. I was so nervous, and so when I think back to the number of my friends who came to the first week of previews, I think, why? which is you come, and why would I allow you to come? But you know, you do. And then you have to let it go, because you know, they're not coming back. But it's there's not, I'm so grateful to have been able to have this life to fulfill what I really wanted to fulfill, and still doing it. And that's been the greatest thing about doing Hello Dolly. I mean, I feel like it's been a gift for me from everyone that came together to offer me this role.
Yeah. My final question is, what is the best bit of advice that you've been given, either personally or professionally, that you live by?
Oh, that's hard, you know. I mean, it's kind of what I try to do every day, which is to, you know, you have to give up control. You can't control anything except your own responses to things. You can't control anyone, you can't fix anyone, you can't make something happen. All you can do is just trust yourself and let it go, and don't, and learn from the experience. Every opportunity is an experience. That's my lesson.
Beautiful. That's great advice. This has been an absolute masterclass. I have known you for a long time. Everybody takes things away from me.
Maybe I should charge for this.
This has been wonderful. I thank you for taking the time.
No, please, the joy. It's always great to talk to you and to have such intelligent people and questions, because believe me, they're not always things I can even begin to answer. And so thank you for coming, and thank you for taking the time to do this. I appreciate it.
You are brilliant at what you do. Go see him in Hello Dolly. Ladies and gentlemen, Victor Garber.
Thank you.